But first and foremost, I want to thank the Great Spirit, that God beyond God, for this opportunity to have this experience. I want to thank Terry Carter, Mark Robinson, and the entire Moon Lake team who has put these events together. I really do. I'm grateful to all of you for this. And most of all, I'm grateful for everyone here who is open and receptive to hear these stories from all of these wonderful speakers. So I want to thank all of them. I've made many friends here, and I hope to be friends with each and every one of you. So with that said, what if the true history of the Americas and the world has been deliberately hidden from you? Not for decades, but for generations. What if secret societies, powerful elites, and global organizations have worked in the shadows to erase our past, distort our origins, and conceal the true destiny of the human race? What if? Is it possible? I say it is. Organizations like the Vatican. My speech today is going to I've got so much to talk about, but I'm going to try to be brief about these subjects and touch on them. And then, hopefully we'll have some questions afterwards, but we're going to touch on many different things. But the Vatican absolutely has been hiding records, not just from the Aztecs. It is foolish to believe that when the Spanish arrived, that they destroyed the codices of the Aztecs. They did not. Sure, they burned a few just for show and tell, but they kept those records. The Vatican has been, for its inception, been holding on, gathering knowledge from across the world. That includes from Egypt, from Asia, from all across the lands. Now, we've gotten glimpses of the ancient records that the Vatican has. So we get codices that got released or snuck out that the Vatican has about the Aztecs. So I just want to let you know that the Vatican is one of those organizations that absolutely has been working to hide our true history and to create a distorted version of that history to their own uses, to, of course, control or to manipulate, or to keep you from knowing your true individualized destiny. John Wesley Powell, how many people have heard of John Wesley Powell? Right? We think of John Wesley Powell as a great explorer. And I'm not here to say anything bad, but do you know who funded John Wesley Powell's first expeditions? It was self-funded by him and elite institutions. It was not the government. That was his second exploration when Congress funded that. But John Wesley Powell also became the founder and first director of the Bureau of Ethnology. He's best known, of course, for leading the first U.S. official expedition to the Grand Canyon, and was appointed by Congress as the new head of this department for the Smithsonian. So what was he doing? He was studying Native American cultures, languages, oral histories, and retrieving artifacts. These are facts. Now, he says his mission was to record and preserve the tribal traditions, but controversy, of course, followed, because Powell, if you don't know this, was a very strong critic of the lost race and ancient civilization theories. He was all about isolationism. And so everything that he did was to paint a picture for the public that there's no way that the Aztecs were connected to the Egyptians or to the Samaritans or to the Maya even in South America. So John Wesley Powell was not just looking to map the areas. In fact, areas that he was coming upon first, they were taking these artifacts from giants and other cultures, and they were giving them to the Smithsonian and hiding them away from public view and public knowledge. That is a fact. But let's get to Montezuma's treasure really quick, because a lot of you know my family history with Montezuma's treasure. I just wanted to set that up so you understand. There have been, and there's other organizations that I won't mention, but they exist, and they have actively, covertly been working to hide these information and this knowledge from us, because not only would they have to change history books, that's the least of their things. It would, of course, again, change the reality of every individual here and your soul's purpose in this life. And so let's get to Montezuma's treasure. How many have heard of Montezuma's treasure? Make some noise. How many believe that the Aztecs were in Utah? By making some noise since I can't see you. Yeah. So see, I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but many people have asked me and said to me, Dan, you're talking crazy. How could the Aztecs have ever been in Utah? How would they get there? And I have to remind them and tell them the Aztecs themselves say they came from this area, from the north, from a place called Aztlán. And Aztlán is Atlantis. This is the same civilization. And they weren't isolated civilizations. I'm here to tell you that Aztlán, Atlantis, was a global civilization. And that Montezuma's treasure is one of the greatest treasures the world has ever seen, right? We've heard lots of stories about treasure, even Solomon's treasure. But no one has seen that treasure in any type of modern day world. But the Aztecs, Montezuma's treasure, has been seen. Spain's empire was built on the treasures that were found. Heavens, Mel Fisher became rich from sunken Aztec treasure that the Spanish had recovered. But there was more, lots more. How do we know this? They say that, the Spanish say it, and the King of Spain actually made Coronado, sent him on an expedition to go find that treasure and where it was moved. And if there was no additional treasure to find, why would they do that? So Montezuma, I'm going to take a drink of water here. Sorry. Many have, the picture of Montezuma that has been painted is that he was, I'm just going to use these words, he was a punk. He was scared. He thought that Cortez was a god and that he just gave his kingdom to Cortez. Well, that is not true. That is the Spanish version. And even some of the Aztec codices that were written, keep in mind they were written after the conquest and by the Franciscan friars or the Jesuits. Who did the Jesuits and Franciscans work for? The Vatican. The Vatican. And so they were a Catholic order. The Franciscans were different than the Jesuits. The Jesuits, even a little more secretive because they reported directly to who? Not the king, to the Pope. And so these facts are known. These are known facts. And they for sure were absolutely keeping these ancient records, gathering this knowledge. So Montezuma was also, I want to say this, Montezuma was the greatest emperor of the Americas, for sure, the greatest king, the greatest civilization. But did you know that Montezuma, before he became king, he was the high priest. He was the highest spiritual leader of the entire kingdom before he became king. Montezuma was brought up in the Aztecs had colleges and schools, just like we do today, right? The whole picture has been painted. These were savages. They were uneducated. We know that's not true today. And the more and more that we learn, now those of us who have heritage to the Aztecs and to the Maya and to the Native Americans, we know they were never savages. They were more civilized than the Spanish who showed up. Their technologies of water filtration, sciences, mathematics, astrology was superior. But I'm saying all this because Montezuma was the prophet of the time. He was the leader. And so everyone's heard that Montezuma was killed by the Spanish, or the Spanish say that the Aztecs killed him. That is not true. Montezuma was never killed. And here's what Cortez said in his letters to the king. Here's what Cortez said. I told two of the Indians that were captive to carry him on their shoulders to the people. What they did with them, I don't know. Only that war did not stop because of it. So because Montezuma was hit in the head with a projectile, but that was a setup. Montezuma's brother who in fact, let me back up. Montezuma, when he was held by the Spanish, they also held Montezuma's brother. The entire markets of the entire Tenochtitlan land were shut down. Food, commerce, everything was at a halt. The Spanish said, hey, we're going to die if we don't get any food. We're going to die. So Montezuma said, release my brother. I'll instruct him to open the markets and get the commerce happening. Everything will be fine. Cortez let his brother go. And of course, his brother did not go open the markets. He went and got all of the warriors, and they said, now is the time that we attack. So when Montezuma was struck in the head, this was by his own people, one of his own lords, actually. And it was just a superficial wound. And Montezuma, Cortez and those guys said, hey, let's get you some help. Let's get the doctors to look at you. And Montezuma said, no, I'm dying. But here's what Bernal Diaz said. The emperor's death came to Bernal Diaz as something of a surprise. When we least expect this, now this is quoting Bernal right here. When we least expected it, they came to tell us that he was dead. He added that Father Almedo did not believe he would die from his wounds. Right? This is their own documents of it. So Montezuma had fooled the Spanish. Montezuma, once again, high priest, master of herbs, master of medicines. He could have just nibbled on a little something that made him look like he was dying, but he did not. Now, before Cortez ever arrived, there were 8 omens that Montezuma received, and it's impossible for me to cover them in detail completely. Like I told you, Montezuma was the highest spiritually attained individual. I'm not claiming he was Jesus Christ level, but he was the highest level of esoteric spiritual attainment, and he absolutely was connected to the divine. Contrary to what you've all heard, he was not a murdering, nonstop person. He was very spiritually connected. This is the narrative. Remember, the Spanish narrative has to be that they were savages, has to be that they were killing all the time because they were doing God's work, and they must have a reason for annihilating them or attempting to. So 8 omens. A bright fire fume, likely a comet, appeared in the sky. The temple of one of their gods of war and the sun caught fire and could not be extinguished. Lightning struck the temple without thunder setting ablaze on a calm, misty day. Omen number 4, 3 fiery objects, possibly meteorites, streaked across the sky, accompanied by a roaring sound. Number 5, Lake Texcoco mysteriously swelled, causing waves and flooding part of the capital. Omen 6, a ghostly weeping woman's voice was heard at night, laminating the fate of her children. 7, fishermen captured a strange bird with a mirror-like surface on its head, showing visions of foreign warriors. In Omen 8, a 2-headed man appeared only to vanish when brought before Montezuma. These were 8 omens that Montezuma, being the spiritual individual that he was, interpreted. By the way, there has been an ancient prophecy from before they ever arrived in Mexico about how their civilization would end. This was something that Montezuma carried with him, that there was an end prophecy of the 5th world. And Montezuma was aware of this. So Montezuma, understanding all of this 10 to 12 years before the Spanish ever arrived, began moving the treasures northward back to where their homeland was. How many have heard of the Black Mirror? Montezuma and the high priest had what was called a black mirror. Matter of fact, hold on. Can you guys see this mirror? This is an obsidian mirror. Their black mirror was obsidian. And this black mirror was also, doesn't that one omen sound like the mirror that was on the head? Because in fact, Montezuma had an obsidian mirror, a black mirror. And it is said that he would stare into the mirror and get visions. And this is a tool that Montezuma also used, and it's also verified by the omens. Now here is an image of one of the black mirrors that was recovered from the Spanish and brought back. And in fact, John Dee, a mystic of the 16th century, used these exact mirrors. They're in the British Museum, I believe. And so they did something what they call scrying. And basically, even John Dee says that he used this obsidian mirror to gaze into it, to receive information and visions. And Montezuma had this as well. And so besides the omens, besides the ancestral prophecy, he had these tools. So when Montezuma and Hernan Cortez met, it was not that he believed Cortez was a returning god. He knew that he was of this race of people that were coming, and it marked the end of their age of rulership. A lot of us sometimes can't understand that, right? So people, even some people today in Mexico, don't understand. They have a bad understanding of Montezuma because they believe what I told you earlier. But Montezuma was having to make tough decisions for protecting the treasure, right? And what is the treasure we're seeking? It was a good question to ask yesterday morning. So it's not gold and silver and precious jewels. The treasure is far greater than that. You heard me talk about Atlantis and Aztlán. This was a real global civilization, and it was the Aztecs' homeland. And so you've probably heard of Atlantis from the Greek narrative, from Plato. But there are some esoteric leaders throughout time, early 19th century, who also rang in on the Aztecs, the Mayan, or the Maya, and the Egyptians. Modern mystics such as Edgar Cayce said that the Aztec and Maya were keepers of the Atlantean knowledge, ancient knowledge. We had other people like Rudolf Steiner, Yul Stanley, and Helena Blavatsky, who also revealed fragments of Atlantis and the esoteric teachings. These hidden truths, what's there are ancient codices, genealogy, mathematics, sciences, all of the technology and sciences and mathematics they used to build pyramids. So advanced sciences, zero-point energy, anti-gravity technology, interdimensional communication and travel, and the Atlantean prophecy, they also detailed in these records the fall of Atlantis. Remember, this was a worldwide civilization. Just like we have a worldwide civilization with multiple governments, whether that be China or America or Russia or anywhere else, it's foolish to believe that they weren't in communication. Again, they had the technology and knowledge of the stars that we are just understanding today. So they absolutely could travel and communicate and work together. So even the Aztecs codices tell of Atlantis or of Aztlán. And some of you may be saying, hey, this is a great story, right? How many know, let me say this. So we have the codices where the Aztecs say where they're from. How many people have heard of Gemelli? He was an Italian explorer. Anyone hear of Gemelli? So this is a map that he copied in the 1600s, between 1651 and 1700s. Well, that's when he was an explorer. And guess who he was funded by? The Vatican. And he was so enthralled. Of course, he traveled the world, Egypt, South America, Asia, everywhere. And he was collecting information and collecting these codices. And guess what this particular codice describes? This is the Great Flood. How many knew that the Aztecs have a codice of the Great Flood, the worldwide flood? They have an Adam and Eve. They have a Noah, and it's in their codices. And so they clearly, with this knowledge, matches our biblical records. It matches the Samaritan records, and it matches theirs. So everywhere, all of these continents or civilizations or areas of the world got hit with this great flood. And you know, in my opinion, I don't believe our Creator, our loving God, who truly at the highest loves us all, just wiped everybody out and just said only those in Israel are going to, two people over in the Middle East are going to survive. Clearly, there were other, and they may have had other ways of communicating the divine, but they were loved and they were worthy of continuing their culture, their race, and surviving. And the Aztecs, we have that flood story documented. This is also another codice talking about the great flood that happened. And you see the giant underneath because it said, hey, it was to wipe out the giants. Those giants had wiped them out as well. And this is a Codex Vaticanus 3738. This is one of those secret pre-Spanish conquering codices that the Vatican has. One of those ones that was supposed to be burned and destroyed. No. The Vatican has it, and they have a lot more. This is the Aztecs codice about Adam and Eve. This is Eve and her talking with the serpent. And they had twin sons, just like Cain and Abel. I don't know if in the Bible they said they were twins, but this is their Eve speaking with the serpent with her twin sons. Oh, by the way, I want to go back really quick. On this, because this has a great flood, kind of the top right, I wish I had a pointer, but there's an area there about the two, our version of Noah and his wife, and the dove landing. So what the Great Spirit told them was only eat maize, but all of their children became mute. And so this dove landed and gave each one of them a different language, and then they spread across the world those who had the same language and divided. Amazing that information is there. This is the 1847 Sternal map. Make some noise if you've heard of this map. Thank you. This map is a treaty map that was between the United States and Mexico. And guess what? Mexico said, we're not signing this treaty unless you document our homeland of the Aztecs, which is up in this area. And it's on this map. You can get a copy of it from the Library of Congress and see it for yourself. Antigua Residencia de los Aztecas. This was the ancient homeland of the Aztecs. So that is another clue, and it's amazing that we have that. How many are aware of the linguistic evidence? I know many people here, some of the other speakers probably know about the Uto-Aztecian language connection. Make some noise if you know about that. So the Uto-Aztecian family, a vast language family stretching from the western United States into central Mexico. They spoke Nahuatl. By the way, the Aztecs' real name was Mexica. The only reason I'm not saying that is because most people, will get lost if I start saying all these different names. The Aztecs' true name were the Mexica. This is where Mexico comes from. And so just to give you that little tidbit of information. But this language that they shared, Nahuatl, the Hopi speak it, the Shoshone speak it, the Ute speak it, the Paiute speak it, and other tribes across the Great Basin of Southwest. How is it possible that these tribes still here today speak the same language? Now, there's many other languages, many other tribes. Common sense says, of course, they're related, they're family. And we have that right here in Utah. This right here is the head of Sinbad. How many have seen this petroglyph? Anyone? This was deciphered by my good friend. I want to give him credit because I'm going to talk about the Aztec sunstone in a minute. Cecilio Orozco. And in the early 80s, it might have been the 90s, he saw this and he realized that it was encoded with knowledge. It represents Venus in the 8-year cycle. Knowledge later embedded in the Aztec sunstone. Or actually, we're going to say the Aztec sunstone was even before this, to be honest. And that's something him and I would probably debate today. But yeah, so this is in Utah. And it encodes the same mathematics and same information that's in that Aztec sunstone or the Aztec calendar, as many of you know it. I'm actually skipping over so much extra information. Am I going too fast for everyone? Is everyone good? Okay. Yeah, hopefully you're enjoying it. And hopefully we'll have some questions after as well. So, yeah, you can also, some of these same things found in Black Dragon Canyon, Barrier Creek, Horseshoe Canyon, all here in Utah. These are all proof of Aztec and Maya mathematics and sciences right here. And the mystical connection to all this suggests the ancient knowledge networks, again, linking Utah petroglyphs to Mesoamerica calendar science, right? And astrological sciences. So let's get back to Montezuma really quick. I told you that we believe and know, we know, but still it's up to you to do your own research, that Montezuma made a great escape. And the hidden truth is that despite what the officials claim in history, Montezuma was not killed by the Spanish nor stoned by his people. He deceived Cortez and he escaped with his brother, carrying the sacred treasures with him. The Atlantean codices, or the Aztlán codices, the sacred treasures of the Aztecs. Don't get me wrong, there's gold, there's silver, there's jewels. That stuff was 10 to 12 years being moved, multiple locations. But if I didn't say it already, what we're truly looking for, my family, is we're looking for the tomb of Montezuma. Did I say this yet? Who? No. When I was a little kid, I asked this question to my grandfather. I said, if Montezuma was killed, where is he buried? Where's he buried, Grandpa? And he said, because he talked like, well, boy, no one's ever asked that question. Where is the monument? Where is the place that they celebrate Montezuma or his death? Where's his tomb? Where is he rumored to be buried? You can do all the research you want, and you're going to hear the same story. He was killed. But this is the greatest king that ever lived in this part of the world. And he was revered. He wasn't hated. He was a spiritual leader. Then he became king. He was loved. And he was a good king with great knowledge. And he sacrificed everything, his kingdom. They could have destroyed the Spanish, right? Duh. The Aztecs had 1,000 times, I'm probably exaggerating, but 1,000 times more men. I think Cortez only had like 600 men. Montezuma had an entire kingdom to destroy them. And he could have. But that wouldn't stop fate or destiny for what he needed to do in saving these records. So where is the tomb of Montezuma? Where do we even hear about it? Nowhere in Mexico. Nowhere in Mexico. How many have heard of Montezuma's castle? Make some noise if you've heard of this. They try to tell you, and you may read superficially, this was named by some, early person. I'm trying to refrain from, saying some white guy said, we're going to name this Montezuma's castle. But no, the natives called this Montezuma's castle before it was ever written anywhere. And this is Montezuma's well. This is just like a cenote in Mexico. What I tell people, first of all, this is the park and this is, government land, technically our land. But there are so many artifacts inside of this well that it blow your mind. Have they even gone to look? It also is connected to an aquifer, but it also goes in to the entire mesa, a whole network that gets into canyons and caverns and tunnels and systems.
Where is this located?
This is in Arizona. And same here, right? Montezuma's castle, let me see if I'm missing any notes here. So, in Arizona.
Camp Verde.
Say that again?
Camp Verde.
Camp Verde. There you go. And don't let me forget to mention Chaco Canyon. They would have hit Chaco Canyon before getting here. Montezuma's well, once again, sharing with you. Montezuma himself is said to have conducted sacred rituals at this site, aware of the well's deeper connection to the mysteries beneath the water and the inner earth, as I just shared with you. And so there are, the Aztecs' water, just like to the Hopi. The water is sacred. Listen, all is consciousness. All is the Great Spirit. All of us are one with the Great Spirit. In water, fire, or energy, air, Mother Earth, all of these elements we are made of. We are one with them, and they are sacred, and we should honor them. So, the Aztecs, like many ancient cultures, spoke of a time when giants roamed the earth. So I just want to touch on the Queensmensit giants, who were said to have lived in the world before humans, right? Before the Great Flood, our Bible says that there was giants that roamed the earth. And that's the whole reason we needed the flood. The Aztecs say the same thing. But just like in biblical times, they didn't kill every giant. Not every giant was evil. There were some giants who had the same sacred mission to protect these ancient records. And one of them was Tzoxton. And he was with Montezuma on their journeys. And these giants, though, pre-flood, are credited with building the monumental structures like the Pyramid of the Sun and all of these pyramids. Even the Egyptians, they say the giants built these. The natives, oral history says the giants built them. And of course, modern science says, no, that's just a myth or a legend. We've got to quit calling them myths and legend. It is oral history. And their knowledge, clearly, by the sciences of building these pyramids, the alignments, their mathematics, their calendar system, which we're going to get to, is clear that they were highly educated. And they had this knowledge. So the Aztecs codices, this is another Vatican, part of the same book that has gotten out, 3738, that has this giant being captured. Now they try to say that it was this is them documenting they killed the last of the giants. Keep in mind that you may know this, and if you don't, none of the Aztecs gave up the truth that Montezuma escaped. None of them. They would die and they would hold it because they knew the great mission. And none of them gave up Montezuma and what he did. That obviously they heard some kind of rumors and they were torturing people to get the information. But that's why in Mexico today there's no monument there. Nothing, because it didn't happen there. So let me give you some quick facts. Who believes that giants roam the earth? Make some noise if you believe that giants roam this earth. Right on. There have been many sites. So, in the 1520s, Magellan's voyage, he encountered naked giants in Patagonia. Did you know that? So in Patagonia, tons of giants were written and documented. Francis Drake's expedition in 1579, a ship's chaplain wrote about meeting giants. Anthony Navet in 1594 claimed to have seen 12-foot tall corpses of giants. William Adams in the 1600s fought extremely tall natives in Tierra del Fuego. John Byron in 1766 claimed to see 9-foot tall Patagonians in his journals. The Gulf of Mexico, Alfonso Alvarez in 1519 encountered giants near the Rio Grande. So there's just so many. Hernan de Soto's expedition of 1542 encountered the chief, and he was a giant warrior. Hernan Cortez and Tzoxtlán, as I already told you, claimed they had defeated a race of giants before the Spanish arrived. Native American legends, red-headed giants, the Sitica. I'm sure many of you have heard of that. These red-headed giants. And that supposedly Lovelock Cave. How many have heard of Lovelock Cave? I'm sure some of you have. When they claim the Paiutes, the story we get from is they killed the last of them. But that's not true. The giants still exist today. The Hopi told you about the giants and the ant people, and they were the ones who saved them from the Great Flood. And where was that? That was in the Grand Canyon. In the Grand Canyon is most likely the true Chicomastak, the true 7 caverns, 7 caves, most likely. Because that is absolutely where we have physical. Now listen, there are portals, there are dimensional ways to access inner earth and these other dimensions. But there is a physical tunnel system in the Grand Canyon where the Hopi and were saved by the ant people and the giants. And this is the same area that you heard before that is off limits. How many of us heard of G.E. Kincaid? Right? For those of you who haven't, G.E. Kincaid was working for the Smithsonian, and he discovered a cave full of ancient statues, giant statues, gold relics. Now they say they were Oriental possibly, or Egyptian. What is the difference between Aztec style, Egyptian? But keep in mind, again, they were all connected. They were all connected. And so the Smithsonian today says that's BS, never happened. Okay, but what about James White? Has anyone heard of James White? Make some noise. James White was on the Colorado River coming down, actually not too far from Kanab. And they were attacked. There's a couple rafts going down the Great River. And they were attacked. And so a lot of the guys were killed. But James White, I think, went unconscious, was on the raft. And when he landed, and when he woke up, his raft was smashed, and he was climbed up and went into a cavern. And in this cavern, he saw very much the same descriptions as what G.E. Kincaid had discovered or found. And James White, there's some other ones, I think Jake Johnson, but James White is credible. This was 1867, by the way. And G.E. Kincaid was 1909. So actually James White's story is before G.E. Kincaid. I have an old magazine of James White's testimony in that magazine. So, and like I said, reported discovering a cave filled with artifacts and possibly Egyptian or Asian origin. His G.E. Kincaid's story was published in the Arizona Gazette. But government secrecy, cover-up, all of this, once again, John Wesley Powell, the Vatican, and these secret societies. So all of these, I trust the Hopi first and foremost, more than any other record. But the G.E. Kincaid was in the newspaper. It was reported. It's just like Roswell. They reported it, and then someone said, hey, dummies, what are you guys doing? And then, of course, they couldn't make it go away, but of course, they would slander or discredit anyone and everyone who said or recited what was found. I already said about the Hopi legends. Now, Montezuma. Here is a drawing. Now, this one was in the late 17th century that was taken from an earlier painting of Montezuma. Notice Montezuma's headdress there, okay? And notice McConkey Ranch, not too far from here. Everyone knows it's called the King's Panel or whatever, but it's very similar. Yes?
Yeah.
Now, McConkey Ranch is a super special place. I encourage everyone to go see it. Please respect it. Don't damage the land. Not that any of you here would. But no vandalism, no destroying. But go there and see it for yourself. Feel the energy. Understand that this is a record written in stone about Montezuma and the giant that was with him, the six-toed giant. That's also represented here, written in stone. And this is the natives putting this record here that has clearly lasted for hundreds of years, over 500 years. More of those. Again, see the similarities we have with the giant and some royalty. Now, the pyramids of Mesoamerica, Egypt, Asia, and other regions are remnants of this global, worldwide network. The similarities in design and astronomical alignments not only suggest a shared origin in science, but it's the missing link staring us all in the face. Quetzalcoatl, Viracocha, Thoth, all of these teachings included the knowledge of portals, energies. I'm just repeating myself. The sciences, everything from how to be healed from cancers and any disease that would come upon an individual, the herbs, the medicine, every remedy to anything you can think of. Again, sciences, mathematics, lineage from pre-Atlantis. Because keep in mind, this goes back even farther than 12,000 years, as they kind of say, is when the Great Flood was. So they taught in these pyramids, right in front of our face, the Giza pyramids complex seen from the south, these are all connected. And now, with recent discoveries, claiming an underground complex in the halls of Amenti, right? First of all, just want to show this first. We have pyramids across the globe. Do you guys know that? They're in Indonesia. They're in everywhere. This technology, these global phenomena, these structures, these megalithic structures are global, and they're the same science. You can't deny it. It's right there, evidence right in front of our face. Now, we just had some scientists do synthetic aperture radar, SAR. It's a technology, it's newer, it's being used, and they say that absolutely underneath the Great Pyramid is miles long down these pillars with the Hall of Records. That's the ancient Hall of Records. Edgar Cayce said in one of his prophecies or readings that beneath the Sphinx paw you would find records from Atlantis. And these records of the Hall of Amenti is also the Hall of Records of Atlantis. And there was another group of scientists that went to debunk these guys and their research. And they came back and debunked the scientists. I encourage you to do your own research and come to your own conclusions. So when did the Hopi say that Montezuma's treasure would be found? What? The Hopi have a prophecy about Montezuma's treasure being found? If there was no Montezuma's treasure, why would the Hopi, the keepers of the ancient ways and teachings and sacred rituals and ceremonies, have a prophecy about when Montezuma's treasure would be found? I say because Montezuma's treasure is still out there waiting to be discovered. Here's what the Hopi said. You tell me, I'm going to take the mic off so that you guys can hear this. They told and foretold of a time when it would be found. You tell me what you think.
Dan Kachonga, the old chief of the independent Hopi Indian nation, gave a sign as to when Montezuma's treasure would be found. It will come in a time when the Gentile leaders will turn murderers and thieves loose, almost unpunished, to roam the land and vex the people. In a time when the Gentile people will have appointed conspiring men as their leaders, men who will establish a secret combination with world leaders, which will sap the strength of the American nation. And in a time when this secret combination of men will have gained such power over the American people to make them as slaves.
Could you guys hear that? Could you hear? Yes, you hear it?
So now,
Now. It gives me goosebumps when I hear that. Because to me, that time is now. Because this sacred treasure, like I said, is more than riches and gold. It is all about, one, our individual spiritual attainment, our collective human. You know what human means, right? Hue, meaning many shades and colors of light. And man means being. We, by definition, are light beings of many shades and colors, so we have different complexions. Just like flowers, there are many flowers, but there are different sizes, different colors. And so there is a great purpose. We are in a time of great transition, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But if some of you may not know that in 1982, my grandfather, let me give respect and love to him, because as a little boy, he is the one who taught me and inspired me, along with my uncles, John and Paul. John and Paul. In 1982, in Johnson Canyon, we made one of the greatest discoveries that has ever happened. You hear a lot of people, and God bless everyone, you hear a lot of people claim a lot of things about, we found this, we found that. But they've got no pictures, they've got no evidence, they got no one else to corroborate their stories. We do. In 1982, we made an amazing discovery. It's too long of a story to get into now, but I'll say this. My grandfather, first and foremost, deciphered what were called the Peralta stone tablets. And it led him through, he cracked the code and gained a GPS coordinates from those stones. And from latitude and longitude, he landed in Johnson Canyon, Oakland, California, Bay Area to Johnson Canyon. And in Johnson Canyon, he went to the landowner and he said, I believe Montezuma's treasures on your property. And the landowner said, if this got anything to do with that Freddie Crystal stuff, I don't want to hear nothing about it. Who knows about Freddie Crystal makes a noise?
Hey.
See, there's too many branches for me to get into for those who didn't make noise. So we'll do presentations later on all this. But my grandfather said, I don't know what you're talking about. This has nothing to do with Freddie Crystal. And so my grandfather was looking for specific signs and symbols on this property. The landowner was flabbergasted and said, you've never been here. You haven't been on my property. How do you know that these are here? And he took them right to him, and we made amazing discoveries. This is Von Judd. This was the property owner in Johnson Canyon. He lived there his whole life. His family lived there for generations. They never knew about this right here. We call it the sacrificial altar, or you may know it as a water glyph, one of the largest water glyphs. Does anyone know what a water glyph is? Or heard of it? So there's someone else who can probably recite this better than me in the sense of saying it, but ours was discovered first. And then one of the Boy Scout leaders came and got interest, saw it, and started documenting the other ones around the Southwest in Utah, Arizona. And of course they say, hey, we think it leads to water. And yes, that is one of the meanings of this marker, that it does lead to water, right? Because the Aztecs left. When they went from the north to the south, water is very important, especially for a large amount of people traveling. And so yes, it was that. But it is also a sacred marker. It is also used for astronomical and spiritual insight. You can pour water. All of them have a cup, almost like a little sunburst or impression, a circular. And the shaman or the priest or the magician, whatever you want to call them, would pour water into that at night, and they would use it to look at the stars and to be guided. They have multiple levels and multiple meanings. This was the first. Now I need to speed through this because I want to get to questions and answers. So in our discoveries in 82, here are the circular, call them graves if you want, tombs. This is where we found inside of these not only hundreds of dead bodies, some of them appear to be cannibalized, sacrificed. But we also, which I don't have all the pictures, but you can go to the Kanab Museum and actually see some of the artifacts today from our 82 dig. It'll be under the Judd name because he was the property owner. And there's much more to the story. We still have the original contract that they signed with my grandfather. We're supposed to be 50% owners. It's a much deeper story. Go watch our documentary for free on YouTube called Secrets of the Stone Tablets in Search of Montezuma's Treasure. That will tell you the genesis of my family up to this 82 discovery and what happened. But inside the Kanab Museum, you will see moccasin soles that are about 14 to 18 inches. No one talks about that, but they're there. Go see them. So we made many discoveries. We also found another stone tablet. This stone tablet right here was discovered right there. We also, which is amazing, which my grandfather gleaned much more information. Guess what? That stone tablet disappeared. That foot in that photo, anyway, it disappeared. The landowner said, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't know where it went. This right here, we'll call it a nodule or nog. This was an artifact that was discovered with the giant that we discovered. And I'm not just talking crazy. We have photos, real photos, not manipulated, not no AI crap, not some phony baloney, not something staged. This is from 1982, and we have the photos of it. This nodule was found with that giant. It has what we believe is the astronomical symbol, sign of Quetzalcoatl. And you see it's like a comet shooting by. And you see like a V with a line. We believe this is related. Now listen, they tried to cut this with a diamond. I know I'm getting close, guys. They tried to cut this with diamond drills and everything. It all broke. I wish I had it today. The Judd family still has this in their possession. And I asked them to come here last year. And the one brother who the other brothers said has this, he said he doesn't have it. Doesn't know what I'm talking about, and his brothers don't know what they're talking about, and to leave him alone. I left him alone. But it still exists. This is an image of the giant that we unearthed. It was at least 9 feet tall, and this is where we found artifacts. Keep in mind, we also found large clay pots full of turquoise, sewing needle, llama hair. Llamas aren't from around here. Netting, fishing nets. There's nowhere for them to be fishing, and said to have come from other parts of the world. All found within these clay pots, turquoise, gold, and other relics. And this is a real giant. This is a real skeleton from a real dig. And you actually, there's been, I'm not going to say their names. Some of them have passed away, God bless them. They apologized to me, but for years and decades, they had been using our photos, saying they discovered giants. They had copies of them from the Judd family. Even the Judds on our documentary, who have no reason to tell the truth, most of it, on that documentary. And they do give credit to my grandfather. By the way, my grandfather was legally blind. He couldn't see in front of him. But my grandfather told me as a child that it's not with his eyes that he sees or that anyone really sees. He said it is our minds. And he believed that God and Christ came to him and gave him the ability to decipher those stones and to start this quest. And so even science today will admit it's not your eyes that see, it is your mind. And my grandfather told me that when I was a child because I couldn't understand how he could interpret maps and know what to do. But the Judd family will even testify on the video that my grandfather had special abilities. He would say, you're going to dig here and you're going to find, and you need to go 60 feet deep or 65 feet deep, and you're going to find 3 bodies. They'll testify in that video that's exactly what would happen. And it did. These are obsidian coins. Some say, well, what artifacts, what things exist? These obsidian coins were found in Johnson Canyon. This is from, matter of fact, what book was it from? Gosh, I don't have it here, do I? All right, that sucks. I've got the book. I'll tell it to you later. But there's a book that has these findings, and they were in Johnson Canyon. They're obsidian coins. The Smithsonian Institute, when they were shown to one of the Smithsonian, said, hey, we've never seen these out here, but we have seen them in Egypt, right? We have found also similar obsidian coins. And I might have brought it. I have an artifact with me. I don't want to say where I think I left it right now. It was in a box. I think it's in there. If not, it's at our home base in Knapp. This is a macabre. I can't even talk anymore, guys. In 1954, in near perfect condition from a small cave in southeastern Utah's Lavender Canyon, a guy named Kent Frost found a macaw feather skirt. This is an Aztec artifact. Even the academics say, yes, It is. But they, of course, said, well, it must have got traded. Someone brought it up and just put it in here. But this is undeniable evidence to prove the Aztecs were here in Utah as well. The Anasazi, the Fremont, in my opinion, were Aztecs, Toltecs, Olmecs. These guys were all the same. And there's even cocoa and chocolate being discovered in pottery. I need to hurry up because I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask questions. Something that I think is super important, a discovery we made not too long ago. So this right here is Snake Temple in Peru. Do you guys see that carving of Viracocha, also known as Viracocha? It's a petroglyph. And we found evidence. We found the same petroglyph in Kanab, Utah. And this is because, again, the Inca, the Maya, the Aztec, especially the high priest and high priestesses, the women don't get enough credit. I have a whole nother talk presentation that I'm creating that honors the sacred women you hear today and your role in all this, because there's a whole lot of masculinity, but none of it would be happening without the feminine. It's both. So I want to honor all of you, and I want to say that the women were involved in all of this. And so here's the one that we found in Kanab, Utah. And this is the exact same image of Viracocha. You can go see it today, once again. And they're near some caves, near Best Friends. I'll tell you where it's at. Please, please make sure you are caretakers of this area and don't cause any damage or anything. Take your photos. So you make a right-hand turn where Best Friends sign is, and it loops you around to the left. There's some massive caves that you just look up to the left. So once you go in the cave and have a good time, when you walk out of the cave and look down and to the right, that's why no one has messed this up, because they never saw it. It wasn't for them to see. I only mention it because I believe everyone here is open and receptive and a caretaker of this world and capable of respecting it. Now I want to get into the Atlantis cosmic calendar, Aztec calendar, quantum cosmic clock, because it contains ancient wisdom from at least 26,000 years ago, but it's got to be much older. In this calendar, many of you have seen it. It encodes so much information. And I'm going to quit this in 2 minutes, I hope, so we can get to questions. But this Aztec sunstone or Aztec calendar has the 26,000 year precession of the equinox in it. 26,000 years encoded in it. Now, imagine this. The high priest, the scientists, whatever you want to call them, you better believe by observation and however they were doing their thing through spiritual insight, which of course was a part of it, still took longer than 26,000 years. It must have been at least, I would say, 4 26,000 year cycles before that they can map all this out properly, but probably longer. So we're talking hundreds, probably thousands, maybe millions of years information. So it encodes the 26,000 year precession. It encodes the four previous worlds. The first world was of the jaguar, where the giant animals were messing with people, dinosaurs, stuff of that nature. The second one was of the wind. We don't have enough time to go over it. Come talk to me after or in the future. But this sunstone encodes all of the 4 previous worlds. We are in the 5th world now. Montezuma knew that Cortez's arrival and all of the omens with his black mirror and all the spiritual insight that the 5th world for them was ending, and we are in it now. Did you know that it also has the 20 cycles of 13 days encoded in this? All right. It also has 4 year signs: house, rabbit, reed, flint. Do you know the center, they call him the sun god in the center. And they say, oh yeah, they were sacrificing people to the sun god to keep things going. No, that tongue of the sun god is the flint. And that is wisdom. And that is knowledge. He was speaking like we speak, how we share knowledge. It wasn't to cut people. It was because the word is sharp as an obsidian knife, right? Your mother or father could say something to you and bring joy or make you cry. And this was the great wisdom that this calendar has, sharing it with you. It has the 5 movements of Venus. And once again, the sun is our friend. That sun shines on everybody the same. Those that you and I call wicked or good, the sun shines on all of them the same. No prejudice. It is wisdom that the sun gives us. So let's end this. Hopefully you guys are understanding this. By the way, one other thing that is super important to know about this. Each one of you was born at a certain time on a certain day. Under this system, you have certain powers and energies and attributes and personalities that you came into this realm with. This sunstone gives you that information. If you reach out to me and give me your birth date and the time that you were born, I will be happy to share some basic information about your potential, because this sunstone has you encoded in it. And all of the attributes that you have the possibilities of tapping into, of your infinite possibilities. Dr. Cecilio Orozco, I want to give him credit. Like I said, he was one of my first mentors in this. There's another gentleman that you guys can learn about, Mazatzin. He is a good brother, a friend of mine. I don't want to claim to be the one who originated this understanding and these new teachings, but he is a brother, and you can learn more as well from him. So again, Cecilia Orozco right here. I just want to mention handbags. You've all seen these handbags, right? The Olmec, Aztec had the handbag. Gotepi, I swear to goodness, thank you. Gobekli Tepe has the handbag. You see it there. The Samaritans have the handbag. Because I don't have time to continue. It suggests a shared universal symbol. I believe it is connecting life, energy, and sacred wisdom. These keepers, the carriers of these bags, were the ones holding the information, the ancient wisdom, the sciences, the mathematics, transcending geography and time. This is evidence, again, global, different parts of the world having the same symbols and icons. I just want to touch really quick. Many of you may have heard about the monoliths that showed up in Utah, 2020. Of course, what they said was, someone just came and did an art piece. I say baloney, because they started springing up, or people started to see them at the same time all across the world. And I'm not going to recite them all. Turkey, you know where this one was found? Not too far from Gobekli. I didn't eat, man. I start dropping. Yes. So not far from that. So all of those monoliths that showed up across the world, I'm telling you, they are connected to ancient sites in the area. Somewhere, someone was sending a signal. Because once again, because once again, we are in that time. By the way, 26,000 year cycle, we are in it. Pisces into Aquarius, we are here. This time is now. The energy is available to all of us. It is a cosmic journey. I want to bring this up. Terry Carter is the expert, but I'll say this. I'm just starting to get into this. And there's clearly the flint, the one coming out of the mouth of the sunstone, is on here. The Egyptian Ankh is on here. Yin Yang is on here. And I am told, and the Maya counting system is on here. And I'm told that, also it includes Middle Eastern. So whether that be Hebrew or what have you. I'm very interested in this. I appreciate Terry doing all his work from a long time ago, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe these are another proof and evidence, right? I believe it's some kind of Rosetta Stone because it has every one of these cultures' symbols in them. So somehow, some way, this needs to be, and I got more to say, but since we're running out of time. UFOs, I'm not even showing right now, but just the other night, We're out here filming with the night vision, and there's UFO activity in this area big time. And we've got evidence. Some of the guys here who were with me saw, Ben, I think, and Eduardo, and a few other folks were with me witnessing it, and I've got it here on video. Skinwalker Ranch. Who wants to see the video of the UFO real quick? Okay. So
Well, that one can't be a satellite.
you'll probably hear Ben talking. Or me and then Ben.
Dude, there's two next to each other.
We're recording right now. So.
Yeah, they're moving next to each other. They're probably, whoa, dude. That is amazing. They're hauling ass.
Forgive the language. Yeah.
They're probably satellites, but one is going way faster than the other now.
When you look real close, actually, there are many other objects moving besides what's happening here. And then one of them, as Ben says,
Dude, it's changing course.
there you go. And so a lot of amazing stuff. It's happening right here in your night skies. Get some night vision, check it out. Skinwalker Ranch. I told folks, who was here last year, make some noise? Okay, I told folks last year, because Bigelow owned, so it's a bigger story, but I'm just going to give the brief one. Last year I told you that Bigelow had government contracts and was the one who had Skinwalker Ranch first, and they were running all kinds of experiments for the government, space stuff, trying to open portal type stuff. But where on top are any buildings, warehouses, anything? They don't exist because it was underground. And I just saw a trailer for one of the upcoming episodes of Skinwalker Ranch. So I told everyone last year, there's an underground base where they were running all of their scientific and esoteric popping open portals, trying to CERN-like activity there, underground. And now I just saw a trailer where they're penetrating and they're finding metal and different stuff because they left, Bigelow left that stuff there. They opened the portal and they met an entity that they did not want nothing to do with. And they got the hell out of there and sold that land for a steal of a deal. So, just want to remind people what I told them last year and what they're saying now. This right here, scientists, so it's just some oddball but amazing stuff. Scientists have recently visualized quantum entanglement. This is quantum entanglement envisioned. What is it? It's the yin-yang. Again, the ancients knew quantum entanglement. That's what that is. That's what yin-yang is. Also in the Aztec sunstone, the two brothers is the yin-yang. Same sciences. Do you guys know that there are 13 zodiacs? Huh? How many people know that? For those of you who don't know, you've been told 12 zodiacs. There are 13. 13 zodiacs. Christ's 12 disciples, Christ being the 13th as the head. Right? There are 13 zodiacs. So I'm just letting you know there's been information, knowledge hidden from you so that people are operating from a limited perspective and limited knowledge, but it's out there waiting for you to find. This is the Milky Way. This is where we currently live, right in there. This is a cosmic journey, folks. We are not here just to be spectators. There are mysteries and adventures that are waiting to be discovered, that we are destined to explore, each one of you. And this is all, yes, there's physical treasure, but there's spiritual treasure on these journeys. We glean, we receive divine intuition and divine wisdom and other things. It's personal growth in all of this. So I want to thank everyone. I'm sorry if I wasn't perfect, but I love and respect each and every one of you. If anyone has any questions, I would love. Can we get the lights turned back on? Awesome. Yes.
How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing great.
I grew up, lived here in Duchesne. And of course, I come from a biblical perspective here. In the book of Numbers, we got King Og. You know, we've got many different giants that are in the book. And of course, the book says there were giants in those days and afterwards. And then Moses' scouts went to the promised land, and they brought back reports of these giants.
So just so everyone can hear, he is saying that from his religious background and teachings that they taught that the giants were here.
Right. So they brought back reports of these giants eating people. They were cannibals. I've spent time in Chaco Canyon and talked to the elders. I know Timothy Alberino and I knew Tom Horn, a great mind in the industry.
You can turn off that light.
So in those adventures, they're oral tradition.
Yes.
And we know there's a certain amount of truth to oral tradition.
Yep.
And McConkey Ranch, of course, I've been there many times. The Three Kings. There's a hole, it shows a hole and a giant coming out with a decapitated head.
Yeah. I say oral tradition is more reliable than even the written record.
So when you talk to the elders, and they're still going to places today and doing these rituals that they did in the Kivas. And we know that they were supposedly in the oral tradition, not the modern.
Thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate you. Hopefully you enjoyed it.
Not the modern oral tradition of believing because of the.
Right. But do you have a question? And not because I don't want to hear this.
My question is if there were giants in those days and afterwards, how did they survive the flood? We know Kandahar and Solomon Islands and these things. How did they survive and get here today?
They survived just like you and I survived. We're all here today.
Underground.
Underground. Yes. And that's what the Hopi tell us. Any other questions? Raise your hand. Yes.
The giants that kidnapped that you uncovered, did those get covered back up?
They have gone missing. And we were told, I was told, that the Smithsonian came and took them. That someone from the Smithsonian came and took them.
What?
The giants. She asked if those giants are still in Johnson Canyon. There are giants still in Johnson Canyon, but those particular ones, we're told, were missing. We were kicked off the property at gunpoint, told they would kill us and bury us if we didn't leave. It's a big story. So we didn't get to be there. Yeah, one second.
Is anybody afraid of Blue Notebook and it had a flash drive in it from last night, by chance? No? Dang it. Okay.
Any other questions? Raise your hand if I don't see you. Yes. Excuse me?
People that enforce the no-go zone in Grand Canyon.
That's our government today. Our U.S. government says you cannot go there. You will be arrested. I have a few associates who have attempted to go in there, and they have been stopped. And there's men in black, there's covert, and it is real.
Apache.
What's that?
Apache.
Apache?
Apache's a fair for you. What?
Any other questions? Yes.
We're going to have another raffle after this, so. No, we're doing so right now. Make Friday and do another raffle.
So are you talking about like that? No. You're talking about like this. This stuff?
We can do it.
This stuff? This right here on the screen? Yes, these are real Aztecs codices.
From the Vatican.
Released from the Vatican, also ones that the Spanish friars, Franciscan friars, and Jesuits were with the natives, having them rewrite their history.
What is a codice?
A codice is an ancient manuscript. It's like a book, records, pictographs, pictures, and there's even writings. The newer ones that the Spanish had the Aztecs create, they would then write in Spanish. But you'll notice you get all these symbols, and some of them you get the symbols that the Aztecs drew, but you don't get the interpretation. And keep in mind, the Spanish were the ones in charge of the translation. So you have to approach them with that understanding. Yes? So I have my website, dandillman.com, you can go to, and it'll link you to my YouTube. And yes, I have a podcast. Season 1 is done. I'll be starting up soon, season 2 of that podcast. So Dillman, and my shameless promotion banner out there has got a QR code on it that you can scan and take you to the site as well that will have the links. Yes?
What's your opinion as far as the Smithsonian being a fun organization called Vatican? And my second question pertains to Vatican. What's your opinion as far as the percentage that they have?
Oh, yeah.
And are they closed off?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, I want to repeat the question. The first question was, what's my thoughts on the Smithsonian and the Vatican? I said it in the beginning of my presentation. They have been absolutely actively working to hide and disinform and manipulate or deceive us about what is real and what isn't. They're in cahoots. And there's other organizations too. So educational institutions that go way back who are also helping to fund these individuals. So my idea is, unfortunately, and I'm not saying every single person in the Vatican is a part of this, and every single person in the Smithsonian is a part of this. But at the highest levels, that's how it was set up. Listen, they even asked Mexico for their 500-year anniversary of the conquest. They asked for artifacts back from the Smithsonian and the Vatican, and not the Smithsonian, from the Vatican, and the Vatican said no. You need to add, you let me know when we need to. Any other questions? Yes.
Question right here. So these really powerful ancient sites that you've told us about, right? And I'm thinking specifically the one that looks like frog eyes. You were talking about the woman's spirit after that.
Yeah.
But it's got a smiley face, right? Then it's very yin and yang. When we get to these places, because they have so much energy, in terms of like human oils and stuff, what's the protocol for like, should we kiss them upside down and,
I would say, listen, everything is conscious. The rocks are consciousness. The sun, the moon, everything. You don't need to even put your hands on them. But being there and respecting and knowing that it has intuition, knowledge, wisdom to share with you. You could be in meditation, simply just breathe and connect and can receive information. Listen, everything is energy. And all of this energy and all of this knowledge is right there, right here. Just like they pull water out of the atmosphere. Just as we have thoughts of someone we love or care about, and then we're thinking about them, then they call. We're all connected. And even those sacred sites, we can receive divine intuition and divine knowledge.
Intuition will teach us what we need to do in the space of these thoughts.
Yes, and just treat them with love and respect. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Is the U.S. government beginning to stick its nose at the whole Kanab mystery? Because it's like...
Well, they did already. You heard about Lawn Child and Branch Child. They were trying to stop him from accessing Three Lakes. For those of you who didn't come yesterday morning, we spoke all about Three Lakes. It's not in my presentation today because we spoke about it yesterday. But yes, the government has actively been involved in that stuff and trying to shut down those things, even on private property. And you better not be caught on some of these public lands, it's supposed to be our land, even with metal detectors. Let's say you don't even plan to dig nothing up, you're just out there investigating. Hey, you better not be caught with that because you will catch a case. And for those, for those who are close to things, we've had strange encounters. I'll keep it at that. It's happened throughout the years.
Yeah, 7:45.
Any other questions? Yes.
Where are you currently looking for the gravesite of?
So it's no secret that I'm based out of Kanab. I mean, I bounce between California and Kanab. And that whole area is rich with discoveries and histories. So all of that area. But let me tell you something. My grandfather and uncles left me their research. I have so many locations across the world. Because, listen, most people know me as Montezuma and our family as Montezuma and the Aztec treasure. My grandfather was educating us about global civilizations, global locations, Easter Islands, and the Star People, and so many different locations that I've got more GPS locations and star maps then I'll have a lifetime to investigate. So, and I don't want to miss anyone's question. Raise your hand high so I know you got one. When are
you doing readings? Tonight?
If you're talking about Aztec Sunstone, actually send me an email, go to my website, and send me your first and last name, send me your birth date, and the time that you were born. Look at your birth certificate.
Thanks.
Okay? I'll be happy to share a brief report about your potential in this lifetime. According to the Aztec Sunstone. Once again, potentials. Nothing is locked. Nothing anyone has ever told you is locked into your destiny at every moment, every second. You are the master of your destiny. Remember that. Don't let anyone ever take that from you. You get to choose your destiny. Any other questions? Do I need to stop, Terry? Shut me down if you need to.
No, they got.
Yes.
I'd like to hear the answer to his second question about the Grand Canyon closures.
My complete question was, in your opinion, currently, what percentage of the canyon closed off?
You know, I'm not going to claim to have the percentage of the canyon that's closed off. Maybe someone else here knows. But I'll just tell you this, that right near Kanab, right near one of the only places that you can come up from the river, up into Toraweep, up into Kanab, and come in this way is right over there, and it's not too far from there. It's not too far from where G.E. Kincaid and James White. Really, it's not too far at all, especially it's a short river ride.
That question is, why are they closing that off?
They're closing it off because of all of those discoveries that I went over today are real. And there is tunnels and caverns that lead to not only to the massive things that were reportedly found, but it goes to inner Earth. Listen, there's inner Earth. A lot of the UFO sightings that we have, this is getting on another subject, but not, a lot of that technology is from that pre-flood global civilization that saved the Hopi and everyone else, that still lives in inner Earth, that still dwells there, giants and others. Life is far more magical, mysterious, and rich with culture and beings in this dimension and others than we know of, than we're taught to even think or be open or receptive to. The Bible told us about it. They call them angels and demons, right? So we've been told by every culture. Terry, any other questions? Because I see real good close. I don't see great far.
I think.
Any more questions? Nope. Okay, and I just got to cut it off. So thank you, everyone. Once again, may the Great Spirit bless each and every one of you with prosperity and health, because we could not, even if you found the treasure, it couldn't buy your health. So may you all be healthy forever.
Hey, thank you, Dan. But real quick, Dan, Dan's got a YouTube channel, a podcast, all kinds of things. Tell these people how they can find you. Maybe they know already. I don't know, but tell them.
So my website is a great portal to get you to my YouTube page, so dandillman.com. And then you can find me as Dan Dillman, I think, on YouTube. And Facebook, by the way, friend me on Facebook, follow me, whatever. I would love to keep in contact with you. By the way, some of you here have connections, have seen something, whether that be a pictograph, a petroglyph, something, somewhere. I am absolutely open to hearing about it, seeing it, possibly coming out to meet with you at some time to visit those places. It's not a one-man band anymore. Our family used to be very close-knit and quiet, but this is a collective. Especially, I don't want no gold fever people contacting me. I mean, I don't mind if you contact me, but I'm not going anywhere with you. But if you have a true heart about this, and this ancient history, and respecting all of this sacred land, please reach out to me. Let's get together, let's talk, and let's go on an adventure. Yeah.